For decades, there was one constant in global politics. America lead, the world followed. Today, we know that that order lies in the past. This video is about the three signals that the world has moved on. First, how the orange fascist gangster's presidency is collapsing at home, in the polls and in public trust. Second, how the world leaders, allies and even Americans themselves pushing back, openly and without apology. And third, why a speech from a Canadian Prime Minister in Davos may have marked the moment when the world started to restructure itself. This isn't about anti-Americanism. It's about a power shift right in front of us. Let's start with the numbers. Trump's approval ratings are brutal. Not bad, not soft, brutal. Across multiple polls, his support is sitting well below 40%. Americans say his presidency has failed. That's not noise, that's a verdict. A verdict on economy, inflation, taxes, cost of living. And it's deeply negative. On foreign policies, underwater. Leadership, even worse. No, it's not just opposition voters, it's also swing voters. Even Republicans that have grown a brain. That's battleground America, and it's happening because results or lack of results have consequences. Tariff promised growth, but delivered higher prices. Deals were announced, but not closed. Investment was promised, but projects didn't materialize. At the same time, so-called political leadership collapsed into chaos. Threats against institutions, pressure on the Federal Reserve, endless disputes, endless drama, presidency fail when credibility evaporates. That's what we are watching. Now here's where things change. In the past, when American presidents stumbled, allies just stayed quiet. They waited it out. That's not happening anymore. World leaders now push back. Publicly, bluntly, European officials, mayors, governors, central bankers, they are no longer pretending. Why? Because the worst president in history of the world doesn't just challenge policies. He challenges sovereignty. Literally, your right to exist. Threats against Greenland weren't jokes. They were warnings. Attacks on NATO aren't bluster. It's strategy. And allies understand something very critical now. In Washington, there is no adult in the room. So they are standing up now. Denmark pushed back. France pushed back. EU leaders closed ranks. Even American cities are resisting federal overreach. Ice killing. This is the Trump's rejection moment, not derangement. The world isn't confused about Trump. The world understands him, and it doesn't like what it sees. Now let's talk about Davos, because something important happened there. The orange buffoon wanted Davos to be a victory lap, a coronation. Instead, it became a rebuke. And the most powerful speech didn't come from Washington, it came from Ottawa. Mark Carney stood on that stage and did something politicians rarely do. He told the truth. Without naming Trump, he dismantled Trumpism. He said we are witnessing a rupture. He said that global integration had been turned into a weapon. Trump's tariff terror is a tool of coercion. That dependence had become vulnerability. And then he went even further. He said American domination, as we believed existed, was a fiction. That middle powers could no longer outsource their security, prosperity or values. Canada, Europe, and others needed to stand together. Just think about what that means. This wasn't anti-American. Not at all. It was post-American. That's why the speech landed. That's why the standing ovation. That's why it made Trump furious. because it gave voice to what many leaders were already thinking, but didn't say out loud. Carney didn't sound defeated, he sounded confident, calm, grounded, serious. He didn't ask permission. Now that is leadership. Let's be clear here. This is not a temporary rough patch in Canada-US relations. This is not a misunderstanding. It is restructuring. Trump has turned partnership into leverage, friendship into transaction, and trust into threats. That changes everything. When a partner behaves like a bully, that relationship breaks. Not slowly, but suddenly. That's what Carney meant by rupture. And here's the key point. Middle powers don't need to dominate, they need solidarity. Europe understands this better than anyone. But so does Canada. And that's why coordination is increasing. That's why diversification is accelerating. Trade, finance, security, not because the US is weak, but because it's unreliable. Power without restraint is dangerous. Allies know that. And this isn't just external. Inside the United States, resistance is growing too. Federal Reserve officials defending independence, mayors blocking federal overreach, governors pushing back against authoritarian tactics. Ordinary Americans are tired. Tired of chaos, tired of embarrassment, tired of instability, tired of lawless governments. Let's talk about the latest shock. Trump's threats on 100% tariffs on all Canadian products. This isn't policy, it is a tantrum, for Christ's sakes. What's behind it? Fear. Fear that Canada will diversify. Fear that Canada won't fall in line. Fear that leverage is slipping. But here's the reality. A 100% tariff on Canadian would hammer American consumers. Gas prices would spike even more. Manufacturing costs would explode. Supply chains would snap. Why? Because Canada supplies energy, critical minerals, industry inputs. You can't wall yourself off without starving yourself to death. That's why this threat is risky, most of all for the US. Markets know it, investors know it, which is why those threats keep getting announced and then walk back. Tacos, anyone? The orange fascist gangster didn't just damage America's standing. He exposed how fragile the old world order really was. The world is adapting. Middle powers are reorganizing. Allies are choosing resilience over dependence. And Canada is stepping forward. Not loudly, not recklessly, but unmistakably. If this video helped connect the dots, then please share it. Talk about it at work, on the road, over coffee. And if you want more cleared-eye analysis about where we are heading, then please subscribe. Because the world order is changing, and just pretending otherwise won't stop it. Thanks for watching. I'm Wilfried Lemkuller with Europe Curious.